Thank you. All right, so our last speaker, I want to give a little bit of background, not that he needs much, but so Eric Dickerson needs no introduction to many, but I'll provide just a few highlights. So playing for SMU during college, he broke Earl Campbell's Southwest Conference record for yards and attempts. His 48 career touchdowns there tied Doak Walker's SMU total for career scoring. He finished third in the Heisman Trophy voting behind Herschel Walker and John Elway, personal favorite of mine. I'm told that he decided to play for SMU because his grandmother talked him into staying into Texas and because she liked Coach Ron Meyer. Eric was selected second overall in the 1983 NFL Draft by the LA Rams. In his first year, he established rookie records for most rushing attempts, 390, most rushing yards gained, 1,808, and most touchdowns rushing, 18. These efforts earned him All-Pro, Pro Bowl and Player of the Year, and Rookie of the Year honors. In his second year, he broke O.J. Simpson's record for the most 100-yard games, as well as Simpson's most rushing yards in a season by running for 2,105 yards. That record still stands today. Yeah, exactly. In 1989, he surpassed the 10,000-yard mark and was the fastest player ever to do so, 91 games. This was faster than people like Jim Brown and Barry Sanders. Eric retired from the NFL as the second leading rusher of all time and was selected to the Pro Bowl Hall of Fame in 1999. Please give a warm welcome to Eric Dickerson.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm not a CEO or CFO of a company, so, forgive me for that. I guess, I'll start by, first of all, thank you for having me. Tell you a little bit about my story, where I come from. I think a lot of people like to know about the athletes that they've watched and they know a little bit about. I can tell you this much. I think September 10th, October 10th, of this year, they're doing a football life on me, so I get a chance to see some of my own highlights, stuff that went on in my life that I don't know about either. But I'm from a little small town in Texas. I played high school football there. The thing about growing up in Texas is that is football country. I mean, it really is. And I'm a guy that I was telling some of the ladies in the back. It's nice being in the back. I was surrounded by ladies back there, so let all you men know y'all gonna see a lot of ladies in the back. Grew up in Texas and loved to play football. Never liked to watch it. I was that guy. So I'm still that guy today. I think people think that you love sports. I'm not a sports guy at all. I don't watch sports. I don't watch football. I mean, I can watch a little bit of it, but I can't sit down like when guys come to my house. Man, turn on Sports Center. I'm like, go in there and watch it. I just can't do that. But played football. Matter of fact, I was telling someone in the back that the reason that I got a chance to play football at all is that my mother would not sign for me to play football. Back in those days, someone had to actually sign for you to play football. You couldn't just say, I want to go play on the football team, and to be like that there was no way. So my mother said, no, I hate that game. You're not playing that football game. I'm like, Mom, nope, you're not playing it. So she said, if you want to play, ask your godmother. So my godmother lived about 150 yards from our house, right in front of us. So sure enough, I take my little paper over, and I say, Mama Earlene was her name. I said, Mama Earlene, can you sign for me to play football? Because my mother won't sign. She said, Eric, that's a rough sport. I said, I know it's a rough sport, but I like it. She said, well, okay. So sure enough, she signed me to play football, and that's how I got a chance to play seventh grade football. I played from seventh grade, all through high school, and through my high school years. Matter of fact, I got a chance to play on varsity as a freshman, and I think every person has a story. You can talk to any player, and it's funny when I talk to certain athletes that I know. I just talked to my friend Richard Dent, got off the phone with him. And I was telling him I was here, and he said, man, it's funny, all of us have a story. I said, yes, every guy has a story. And I did not like my high school coach. And the funny thing about that's this whole story is that I hadn't talked to this man in about 30 years. And just the other day, a guy called me, a friend of mine. He worked at the MGM in Vegas. He said, "Hey, Eric, what you doing?" I said, "Oh, man, I'm just at home." He said, "I got somebody I want to talk to you." He put him on the phone. He said, "Hey, Eric, it's Ralph Harris." Now, it's funny how when you're, and that was my high school coach's name. It took me back to that moment when I was a young kid. And my heart started beating fast because, I'm an adult. I'm a grown man now. I mean, I played in the NFL. I'm tough and all that kind of stuff. But still, it almost scared me just to hear his voice. Hey, Eric, this is Ralph Harris. I'm like, "How you doing, Ralph?" He said, I'm good. And he said, "Eric, and he started off by saying this. He said, "Eric, I just want to say to you," he said, I've been watching you. I've watched you very closely. Very proud of you." He said, "You've done a lot of great things." He said, "I just got to tell you, I was an idiot." He said, I was an idiot, and I just didn't do things right by you guys." I'm like, okay. I mean, and I almost didn't know what to say to that. I mean, I really didn't. I know to forgive him or whatever, but it was good to hear him say that because I always thought that he didn't do right by me and other guys. But you as a kid, you do things also as a young man that you think are right, but at that time they're not right. So, and I got off the phone, and I'm like, okay. And I talked back to my friend. He said, "That was a shock." I said, "That was a shock." So anyway, I hung up. And I started just thinking about things in high school with him. My freshman year, I quit football. I quit playing football. I said, "I'm not playing football anymore." And I won't forget, a guy came to my mother's house, a guy named James Abernathy. We called him Shaq. He was a guy that lived about 12 miles away from a rival town. And he's from a rival town. He comes over, he says, "Miss Dickerson, do you mind if I talk to Eric for a little while?" She said, "No, take him and talk to him." And sure enough, we get in the car and we ride around. Now, my hometown is Sealy, Texas, a town of 2,000 people. Now, it's 2,000 people probably in an 8-block radius and a 6-block radius of here. I mean, maybe a block radius. And we had one red light. So that tell you how big my town was. So anyway, he takes me and says, "Eric," he said, "I heard you quit football." I said, "Yeah, I quit." I said, "Man, I don't like that, man." He said, "Eric," he said, "Really?" He said, "Yep." He said, "So you don't like?" I said, "No, I don't like it." He said, "Okay." He said, "So are you going to play football again?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "You want to go to college anywhere?" I said, I don't know." He said, "As you ride around this town," he said, "what do you see in this town?" And I kind of got quiet. I said, "Nothing." He said, "Exactly, Eric, it's nothing in this town." I'm like, okay, even for a 17-year-old kid, that made sense to me. He says, "Eric," he said, "let me tell you something." He said, "You're one of the best athletes we've ever seen in these parts." Now, I think I'm a freshman. I'm a freshman in high school, and it's always amazing how we as grown-ups, we see things in kids that they don't see. I see it now in my own kids and other people's kids. I didn't see it. I said, "Really?" He said, "Eric," he said, "I'm telling you." He said, "You could be a great athlete." He said, you could be something great." He said, "But go back." He said, "You'd be fortunate enough to get a scholarship." He said, "We all believe that you'll get a scholarship." He said, "Believe me." I'm like, "All right." He said, "If you don't like Sealy, come on and play my hometown. We'll come play in Brookshire." I'm like, "All right, I'll think about that." But sure enough, I go back. I play football. Matter of fact, the coach comes to every kid's house that had quit football. And just by chance, all the kids that quit were black kids. All the black kids that quit. So he comes to every kid's house. And he comes back and he talks to all the parents and all of us. All of us go back. We play. My senior year, we win state. We're state champions. And being a state champion in Texas, that's big. I mean, I still think about my state championship, so I'm proud of that. So we win state that year. And I was the #1 recruited player in the nation that year, coming from a small town of Sealy, Texas, and I'm still proud of that because my first visit was to USC. I came out to SC on my visit. Coach Robinson had me come out, and OJ was my favorite football player. I was a running back. He was tall. I was tall. So that's when SC played. I think they played Michigan. I think they played Michigan in the Rose Bowl. I think it was 1979. And sure enough, I get a chance. I see OJ standing. I'm like, man, that's OJ Simpson. I just want to say something to him. So a couple of us guys, we go over and I said, "How you doing, Mr. Simpson?" He said, "How you guys doing?" I said, "I'm good." I said, "My name is Eric Dickerson. I'm a running back. I'm from Sealy, Texas." "Uh-huh." And I said, "I want to break your record one day." And I just wanted to say something. I just wanted to say something. So I said that to him. He said, "Oh, okay." I said, "All right." So sure enough, I didn't go to SC. I decided to go to SMU. So when I got back home, committed to SMU, committed to go to Southern Methodist. Now, let me tell you my SMU story, why I went to SMU. The guys read that I went to SMU because of my grandmother, which is a true story. And the story has a few twists and turns in it. My first school of choice at that time was Oklahoma University. That's where I wanted to go to school, the Sooners. I wanted to be a Sooner. It was not far from Texas, about 350 miles from my hometown. They're winning national championships, and I like the colors on the helmets and everything. And Coach Twister came to my state championship game, and he talked to my mother, and I could tell she didn't like him. You know your mom. She just like, yeah. So anyway, he comes to my house, and I won't forget, he shows me a tape and winning the national championship, and you could be a part of this the next year because Billy Sims is leaving, and you could be the guy. And I'm like, oh yeah. So when he said, I'm committed, and I will never forget when he walked out of the house. I said, I'm excited. My mother said, "You're not going there, boy." I'm like, "Mama, come on." She said, you ain't going there, Eric. I'm like, "But Mama." She said, "Nope, you're not going there." I said, "Why?" She said, "I don't like that man. I don't trust him. He's a liar." I'm like, oh, I mean, you're talking about sunk down. I mean, seriously, my heart just sunk because I'm the type of guy. I mean, my mother, when she says something, it was like, was it E.F. Hutton? When she talks, you listen. You listen. So I'm like, "Well, Mama, why?" She said, "No, Eric, I don't want you to say. You're a Texas boy. Stay in the state of Texas." I'm like, "Well, I don't like the University of Texas, and A&M was all right, blah, blah." So we go back and forth. So make a long story short, Ron Meyer came. And she loved Ron Meyer. I mean, she just liked him. I liked Coach Meyer, too. I mean, let me tell you something. Back in those days, if Ron Meyer came to your house to recruit you, you might not even heard of SMU. Like, I had never heard of SMU, ever. But when he came to your house, oh, you were thinking about going to SMU for sure, because that's just the kind of recruiter he was. If he told you, "Look, it's a barrel of snakes here. Put your hand in the snakes. I guarantee they won't bite you." You're like, "Hell, I'm gonna stick my whole foot in the snake." That's just the kind of recruiter he was. So sure enough, he got me. I go to SMU. My first year, I got a few injuries, hurt a lot, was unhappy. Like every freshman, all of a sudden, you leave from being the guy at your school to being the mop-up guy. You're not that guy anymore. So I go there and I'm like, man, the hell with this. I want to go. I'm thinking Oklahoma. We won 5 games. We won 5 games my freshman year. Oklahoma, they played for the national championship again. I'm like, this is some bullshit. I'm saying this to myself. I ain't saying it to my mother, but I'm saying it to So sure enough, I get back home. Matter of fact, before I go home, after my freshman year, I'd called OU. I'd called up to Oklahoma University and got the number. That time there was no cell phones. You got to go rotary dial. So call, and I said, "May I speak to Coach Switzer?" She said, "Hold on, let me connect you to his office." Connect me to his office, and his secretary answered. I still remember the lady's name was Nancy. I said, "Hi, this is Nancy, Coach Switzer's secretary. May I help you?" I said, "Is Coach Switzer in?" She said, "No, he's not. Can I take a message?" I just kind of sit there. I said, "Can I take a message?" So I hung up. So I'm like, man. I said, all right. So I go home. I said, "Mama," I said, "You know what? I want to transfer." She said, "Transfer?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to transfer." "To where?" I said, "Oklahoma." I can still hear it to this day. She said, "Sit your ass down." So I sit down, she get a piece of paper, and I won't forget, she put SMU on one side and other on the other side, and put a line down the middle. So she said, "Okay, so you want to transfer?" I said, "Yeah, I want to transfer." She said, "Why?" I said, "Well, Mama, I just feel like," I said, "Okay, well, let's go down this list." She said, "Okay, so you have a scholarship at SMU." I said, "Yes, ma'am." Are you guaranteed a scholarship at OU?" "Well, no, but that's an X." "Okay. So, all right, so you playing at SMU?" "Yeah, I'm playing, but I ain't playing as much as I wanted." "So you guaranteed to play at OU?" "No, that's another X." "So you getting hurt you say you're getting hurt, so you're guaranteed not to get hurt at OU?" "Well, no, that's another X." Make a long story short, after it got down, it was just all X. She said, "Look, you're gonna take your ass back to SMU." So I went back to SMU, and I can honestly say, I always say it's the best decision she made for me. I mean, it really is, because I'd have been an idiot. And I was fortunate enough. I got drafted. I was the second player behind. Someone said John Elway was his favorite. I heard that, the favorite. Matter of fact, he's one of my favorites too. I was drafted right behind John Elway, second player taken, and I had a chance to come play for at that time, the Los Angeles Rams. As I still say, it's the real Rams, the LA Rams. Play for the Rams, even though we're in Anaheim. And when I got drafted, I gotta say it is in Anaheim. You know, it was Anaheim. I gotta say it. So I get drafted, and I show up for the first day. You know, and matter of fact, I found out. It's funny how you get drafted now. You know, it's all this big hoopla. But they called me the night before. The Rams said, Eric, we made a trade for you. We take we swap with Houston. You're gonna be second player taken. So we have a ticket for you. So just be at the airport at 7 o'clock. Your flight leaves. So I'm like, okay. So I'm on my way to the airport. I hear I'm getting drafted in the car. Eric, it's a quick pick by the Rams. They take running back Eric Dickerson. So I came here to town, and I won't forget when I first saw Coach Robinson again for my second time. You know, after he recruited me, he said, "I finally got you." I said, "Yeah." So anyway, here in LA, I can honestly say they were some of the greatest years playing with the Rams. My rookie year, I mean, Coach Robinson was a guy that knew how to run the football. If you were back and could run the football, you know, he'd make you great. He told me, he said, "Eric, I'll make you great," and I can say he really did. He kept his word. I ran for 1,800 yards my rookie year, a record that still stands today. 20 touchdowns, you know, as a rookie, that still stands. And then I think Coach Robinson and the team, they watched the records as much as I did. You know, as a player, you lie and say you're not keeping up with them, but you keeping up with them. You watching them records, you watching them yards. I mean, because matter of fact, my second year, you know, all the line, they're like, "Man, we want that 2,000 yards. We want OJ's record." I'm like, I wanted it my first year. I'm like, I want it too. So I won't forget, we go down to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm on a hot streak. I think I've got like 600 yard straight games, and one of my best offensive linemen, Jackie Slater, had gotten hurt. So he's on the sidelines, and he's every time I carry the ball, he comes, "Man, Eric, come on, man. You know, we got to pick up some yards." And it was a slow day. It started off slow. "You got to pick up some yards." I said, "Well, why don't you be out there then?" He said, "Eric," he said, "I know, but you got to get some yards." I think I had like 60 yards at half. So I think I had a long run. So he came over and said, "Hey, you got 150 right now. You can get another 50. We can have 200. We're back on pace." So anyway, that year I ended up with the record 2105, and I mean I'm very proud of that record. It still stands today. Matter of fact, it'll be 30 years I think in November that record has stood, and thanks. And so, you know, as my career progressed, you know, I ended up leaving the Rams. And, you know, I think for me and for the Rams, that was a very tough day and a tough year. I mean, I didn't want to leave the Rams, but, you know, just like anything, you know, you got to go for more money. That's what it is. That's what it's all about, you know. And I, you know, when I came back to LA and I'd finally retired from football, one of the things I remember the most is that, you know, at that point, I was still somewhat bitter and angry at the Rams for what happened at that point. And I thought they were too. But I don't think a lot of you don't know who John Shaw. John Shaw was the general manager of the Rams. He was when I played, and he just stepped down a couple of years ago. And me and John Shaw are great friends now. And if someone had told me that me and John Shaw would have been good friends, I'd have said, "You must be on crack cocaine. You got to be on." I said, because I always said, I want to kill John. That's my thing. I told John, I said at one point, I said, "John, if you were in an alley and we let every player loose on the Rams, you'd get away because we would kill each other trying to get to you." But anyway, so John ended up calling. He called me. He said, Jackie asked me. Jackie said, "Eric," he said, "Man, you ever talk to John?" I said, "Man, I don't want to talk to no John Shaw." He said, "Eric," he said, "Man, he always liked you, respected you." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Eric, man, I'm telling you, he wants you to come." I said, "Tell him to call me." So sure enough, he calls me. We talk. He said, "Eric," he said, "I'd like to meet with you if you'd like to sit down and talk to him." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll sit and talk to you." He said, "Eric, I just want to tell you something." He said, "I'm going to tell you this over the phone, but I want to tell you in person." He said that you're one of the greatest players I've ever seen play. He said, "What happened between us should have never happened." He said, "Should have never happened." He said, "It was my fault." He said, "It was my arrogance." He said, "But for us, you'll always be a Ram." And when he said that to me, I was a Ram all over again. It was like when I got drafted. I mean, I fell in love with the Rams again. You know, I'm still a Ram, even though they're in St. Louis, and it kills me they're in St. Louis, but I'm still a Ram at heart. You know, John is one of my best friends. He's helped me a lot. Matter of fact, when the Rams got Marshall Faulk. It's funny, that story. I called him about Marshall Faulk before the coach traded him. I said, John, I said, how would you like to get your hands on Marshall Faulk? And John's always a why guy. You know, why? Well, Eric, do you think he can play, and why? I said, John, I said, trust me, he can play. And I gave him all these scenarios, the scenario 1, scenario 2. I said, John, if you get a guy on your team like Marshall Faulk to add with what you have, I said, I think that the Rams would be a great football team. Well, I didn't know they were going to win the Super Bowl, you know, when they got Faulk. But, I mean, it just kind of it all worked out. So, like I said, you know, I'll always be indebted to the Rams for drafting me and, you know, starting my NFL career. And like I say, every guy has a story. I mean, you know, you always hope your story is a smooth story. You have a great career or even your job. You know, you hope you love your job. And I think you have your ups and downs with your job, just like I did. In the National Football League, it's ups and downs. Like the league is going through a lot of big changes right now with all the stuff that's going on with Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson. And I think a lot of guys, you know, I'm not a guy that believes in hitting a woman ever. I mean, I'm kind of vocal about that. I believe in spanking your kids. I don't believe in beating your kids. I mean, I have 2 kids of my own. Have I spanked them? Yes, I have. But do I tell them why? Yes, I do. I love my kids. And I tell my daughter, just the other day we were in Hawaii, and she kind of got out of hand because she's a little excited. And I took her outside the restaurant. I said, Eric, Carey, you know I will spank you, don't you? She said, I know, Daddy. She said, I know. I said, Daddy doesn't want to spank you, but I said, you're going to listen to me. I'm your dad. And she said, I understand. And that makes me feel good as a parent. I mean, I think that it's always about, you know, our kids and about, you know, you as a parent, the things that you want to do for your kids. I think everybody as a parent here says that I want better for my kids than I have. I mean, even if you have $1 billion, you want your kid to have $2 billion, you know. And that's that. I'm that kind of parent. But I just want to thank you for having me here. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is, if you'd like to, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes? 10 minutes to let you ask me some questions. Now, please, don't be like some people. You ask the people to ask the question. They sit there. They don't say anything. Then they get outside. Man, I want to ask you this question, man. I didn't want to ask you inside. I don't want to ask you this question, man. So please, if you have a question about anything, I'm sure you do. So I'm going to have 10 minutes to just ask me any questions you like. There you go. If I got one, all right.
So after a career, I mean, how's the body? How's your body doing?
Oh, man, you know, it's tough sometimes. It really is. I mean, you think when I played, I was what you call a feature back. I carried the ball, like I said, my rookie year 390 times. I think my next year 404 times. In the mornings, there's no way I could get up and take off running. If it was a fire in the house, I might could try to crawl out. But, you know, it's okay. I mean, it's not great. I mean, I look like I'm in good shape. Like my back, I have a lot of back problems, no knee problems, mostly back and shoulder. But like I say, no knee. But, you know, for a lot of guys that played in my era, you know, I'm pretty good. A lot of them are a lot worse than me, but I'm just okay. But thank you. Yeah.
So a couple years back, the Vikings-Packers game. Did you watch that game?
What you think? No, why about Adrian Peterson getting close to my record? I'm gonna tell you honestly, you know, I didn't get a chance to watch that game, and I'm gonna tell you why. I was gonna sit, and I don't watch football, but I was gonna sit down and watch some of that game. And my daughter, it was right after Christmas. I think right after Christmas, my daughter said, "Daddy, you said you were gonna take me to Toys R Us to take some of these toys back. I want to trade." I'm like, "Dang." I'm like, "Okay." All right, so sure enough, I'm at Toys R Us. I didn't have to watch the game. I had my cell phone. I had 192 text messages. I had 50 phone calls. And the funny thing, finally, I finally looked at my phone. I'm like, oh, man, damn. So Jackie Slater called. So he calls. He said, Eric, you watching this game? I'm like, no. What you doing at Toys R Us, man? I'm like, Jackie, I'm here with Carey. Man, you ought to be watching. Man, they're trying to give him this record, man. I mean, he was frustrated. And then the funny thing, when he said, so when they go into overtime, does it count? I'm like, Jackie, you played, you know it counts. I forgot. I said, Jackie, and honestly, I told him, I said, Jackie, he ain't gonna get that record. He said, man, I don't know, man. So I'm like, okay, so I hang up with him. As I'm walking out of Toys R Us, the guy says, Eric Dickerson. Yeah, man, you not watching the football game, man? I'm like, man. I said, nah, I'm going. I said, oh, I understand, man. But you get home and watch that game, man. I said, why you not watching it? I'm here with my daughter too. So, but yeah, I caught the last 2 minutes of that game. When it,
Still at the 18-yard point when he was running.
I was a little nervous. I ain't gonna lie. Did I want him to break that record? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, I'll tell you, I called Adrian after the game. I called him, when he got back to Minnesota. I say, man, I said, great season, Adrian. He said, thanks, Eric. I said, let me ask you a question, though. I said, don't you have a record, a couple of records? He said, yeah. I said, you have the most yards in a game? He said, yep. I said, what is it, like 312? He said, like, I think 295. I said, you want anybody to break that record? He said, no. I said, exactly. He said, okay. He said, okay, I get it. Yeah.
So, I distinctly remember you with the goggles. Ever since, I gotta ask you, was that just your signature? Did you have to wear them?
Man, I hated them goggles, man. I hated them things. First of all, I wear glasses. Every time you see me with glasses, they're eyeglass. I was blind as a bat. I tried to put contacts in, but they popped out, and everybody thought those goggles were so cool, and I hated them things, man. Because I was always walking to the huddle like this. Trying to wipe them off. They were mud, water, but they just came my signature, the goggles. But that's why I wore them. I had to have them. Yeah. The worst hit? Oh, I got two really bad hits that I remember really bad. I got one in the Chicago game. We played in the NFC Championship game. And matter of fact, my friend Richard Dent, and the funny thing about when you play in the league, back when you play against a guy, when I played against the Bears and I played against Richard Dent, we were not friends. I mean, I didn't mean it. I would see him out and we'd be like, yeah, what's up, what's up? We weren't hanging out. So he sent me a picture about 3 months ago. He sent me a picture of the hit that Mike Singletary got on me. Because what happened is that he kicked the tight end in and gave Mike a free run at me. And I saw Mike Singletary, but there was so much open field, I'm like, I know somebody gonna get him. So when he hit me, I'm talking about, it was like, pow, and we hit. And all I remember is I got hit. Now all these black jerseys bent me back, and I got up. Now it was in the middle of the middle of the day. It was all of a sudden the sky went dark. It was 2 rainbows crossing, and it was stars everywhere. So that was one hit that I won't forget. And then Ronnie Lott got me really good, man. I just saw Ronnie. I have the picture in my house. The picture it's such a sweet shot. I'm in the air. I'm in the air, and I'm looking at all these Niners. But I'm not even looking at him. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Ronnie Lott because I know he's coming. Because me and him had gotten into a fight earlier, and so I knew it was going to be a little problem. So he hit me. He caught me in my ribs, and I got you. I said, you didn't get me. You didn't get me. You didn't get me. We go back. I won't get Vince Ferragamo was finna throw it. I said, no, dog, you got to throw it. You can't run it. You got to throw it. You got to throw it. So them were my 2 worst hits. Any other questions? Yeah.
Where's the best place you've worn your Hall of Fame jacket?
that yellow jacket at the Hall of Fame, man, you can't wear that. It's a gold jacket, It's a gold jacket. You can't wear that jacket no place. Matter of fact, my jacket, they sent me a new jacket. My jacket would fit one of these ladies in here. I'm like, who did they make this jacket for? I mean, when you sit, matter of fact, at the Hall of Fame this year, because we sit up on the podium, I'm sitting up, and I'm noticing, I'm sure everybody else is, I'm like, why is my jacket so faded? Everybody else's jacket look like brand new. So, but the best place to wear that jacket is the Hall of Fame. It's an ugly jacket. It really is. I can't lie. Yeah.
You said that you respect John Shaw. What did you think of Georgia Frontier?
I like Georgia. You know what? People gave, thing about Georgia, they gave Georgia a really, really bad rap. And I didn't know Georgia like that. She'd always come down on the field. She didn't know a lot about football. She really didn't. She left it to guys like John Shaw, to run that football team. That was their job. And, John would say, Eric, our job was to make Georgia money. And when you get older, as a kid, when you're 22 years old, you don't understand that. You're like, why they won't do the right thing? But I understand what he's saying. It's a business, and that's what it's all about. It was a business. So, but me personally, I like Georgia. My mother loved Georgia, and she loved my mother. So, I had to like her. A few more questions? Yeah.
Can you help bring the Rams back?
Man, boy, I'm gonna tell you, it'd be so great if they'd come back to town. You know, honestly, I say this, I do believe that the Rams will come back. I don't know why. I think that they're such a perfect fit. I went to they had a Rams booster club, and I think they were watching the Niner game. It was 2 years ago, and they asked me to come out, so I went out. And I'm thinking it's gonna be like a crowd like this, you know, maybe a couple hundred people. Man, there's 2,000 people in this place. I'm shocked. So, I mean, I wish that the Rams would come back to LA. I think it's just a perfect fit instead of having, you know, I don't want to offend anybody, Chargers or the Jacksonville Jaguars come to town, or even the Raiders. I feel like the Raiders are Oakland Raiders. I mean, you know, but I just feel like they're Oakland. I mean, I feel like that's like taking the San Diego Chargers out of San Diego. They're the San Diego Chargers. One more question? Yeah.
Aside from those hits, what's been the biggest challenges either in sports and life?
You know, I think watching guys that you know pass away, I think that, and at a young age. I mean, I think the average age of an NFL player is 53 years of age, and I saw a lot of guys that I know have passed away. A good friend of mine, Eric Harris. I mean, he was one of my running dog. I played with him at the Rams, and I saw him at Super Bowl in Indianapolis, and he was a defensive back, slim guy, looked so good. I mean, like, man, you look good, man. He said, man, I've been working out, trying to stay in shape. But then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, you know, he passes from a massive heart attack. You know, I think that is one of the things that's hard for other players to watch. And I think the thing is that, you know, you as fans, you watch the sport, and you know, you want to see the hard hits, and I mean that's part of the game. But it's so much after the game that you don't know about. I mean, like after I retired, I had a neck injury, and I slept sitting up in a chair for 2 years. You know, couldn't sleep in the bed. I mean, it's a lot that goes on after football. I mean, not for anybody to feel sorry for us. That's the profession that we chose. We didn't know all the things that went along with it, but I love the sport. I think it's a great sport. I have a little 2-year-old son. I know I'm old to be having kids, but I do have a little boy. I love that little boy, and I think he'll probably play football. Would I encourage him to play? No, but if he wanted to play, I'd let him play. But I want him to understand, you know, like my mother told me, that's a rough sport, boy. And now I see it. It's a rough sport. And, you know, those are, I think, things that bother me the most about, you know, just the life after playing in the National Football League. One more question. Yeah.
Okay, so back to the records.
Back to the records.
2 records.
Yeah.
In a single season, 2105, and in a playoff game, 248 yards.
Oh, against the Cowboys.
You think those 2 will ever be broken in year one?
The single season rushing, it's going to be hard because they just don't run the football anymore. I mean, they really don't. I mean, the running back is becoming obsolete. I mean, you know, the guys and ladies who watch football, it's just they don't run it like that anymore. I mean, they just don't. Yes, 2 backs, it's quarterback. I'll tell you, I won't forget, we played the New Orleans Saints I played the Chicago Bears on a Monday night football game. And flying over to Chicago, John Robinson asked Eric, he said, I want to ask you a question. Do you think you can carry the ball about 30 times? I'm like, yeah, that was the year after they won the Super Bowl. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. So that night I carried it 38 times. We won the game. We fly from Chicago to New Orleans. On the flight over, he said, Eric, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think you can carry it again about that many times? I say, I think I can do it. I carried it another 38 times. We lost that game, I think because we partied too much in New Orleans. But I just don't think you'll see that anymore. You don't see the 38 and 40 carries. I mean, you just don't see that. I think that's why the problem comes in for the running backs getting that record. I mean, somebody get on a hot streak, it could happen. The 248 yards against the Cowboys, man, I hope nobody break their. I hate the Cowboys. No, I know I hate the Cowboys. I hope not. So once again, thank you very much for having me here today, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
That was great. John Elway, who? Thank you all so much. Thank you to our sponsors, our clients, our future clients, our staff, and Kathy and Jasmine for putting on a fantastic event. Let's all migrate upstairs, and we'll do a great dinner and wine pairing, and maybe have a few cocktails and have a good time. So thank you very much.